Hola chicos, today we are going to discuss the direct and indirect object pronouns, subject pronouns, how to use them in a sentence, and the most important, we're going to concentrate today on the usage of the double pronouns. What does it mean? If you say, I give you a pencil, the pencil would be the direct object but not direct object pronoun. If you know what we're talking about, you could say, I give it to you. It refers to the pencil, so you don't have to repeat it one more time. So you don't say, yes, I give a pencil to you. Instead, you say, I give it to you. Much easier. So in Spanish, it's the same thing, but the details are somewhat different. So we're going to see how to say today instead of how I give it. You could say, I give it to you. Or you could say, I give it to him. So you use double pronoun instead of saying I give it to Roberto. You say I give it to him. I give it, one pronoun, to him, another pronoun. So you use direct and indirect object pronoun. All right, so let's see. Subject is something in a sentence that answers to the question who or what, because it does something in a sentence. What does it do? So for example, you have here one rabbit, and let's pretend it's a he, it's a boy rabbit. So it is a who. What does he do? He gives. He gives what? And that is the direct object pronoun because it receives directly. It receives the action. So it answers to the question what? It is the carrot. And then finally, you have to whom. Answers to the question to whom is the indirect object. So you have here who. You have here to whom, indirect, and you have what, the carrot. And so you have the subject, who, you have direct object, what, and you have indirect object, to whom. It could be a pronoun or not a pronoun. If you say rabbit, it's not a pronoun, it's a noun. If you say to him, then it would be a pronoun. Let's see. So you have here a subject. It answers to the question who or what. The answer is who or what gives the carrot? Rabbit number one. The direct object is the carrot. Whom or what he gives. He gives the carrot, so it's the direct object, answers to the question whom or what. Finally, we have the indirect object to who, to what. It is the rabbit number two, his friend, who is receiving the carrot. That's why it is the indirect. So no, if you learn those questions, who, what, whom or what, or to whom, to what, you always know where the direct, where the indirect object in sentences, and then you know what the subject is as well. All right, so we have here three sets of pronouns. Subject pronouns, yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ustedes. Note that nosotros, vosotros, and ellos also have feminine forms, ellas, vosotras, and nosotras. Then you have here the direct object pronouns, me, te, lo, la, depends on the gender, lo masculine, la feminine, nos, os, los, las. Answers to the question whom or what. You have here the indirect object pronouns, answers to the question to whom, to what. It's me, te, le, nos, os, les. Note that le and les have no gender. They're just third person singular and third person plural. All right, so you have those pronouns, and then later in this lesson you will need to refer to this page to see the pronouns until you memorize them. It is very important in order to use them. So let's see the examples. You have a sentence, we eat it. In this sentence you have we eat what? It. And therefore it is the direct object pronoun. If you say we eat ice cream, it's not a pronoun, but still a direct object. We eat ice cream. We eat it, it is the direct object. Nosotros lo comemos. Spanish is the language of freedom, so nosotros, subject pronoun, is always optional. You can use it or you can skip it. It's okay because comemos is the explicit conjugation which gives you the same information. So nosotros lo comemos. Note that the word order is different because it is we, it, eat instead of we. Never mind. I mean the nosotros is the optional thing, but lo comemos would be it, we eat, and in English it is we eat it. So the word order is different. So next one is you buy them. You buy what? You buy them. It is the direct object. What receives the action of the subject? It is them. That's why it is the direct object. Los compramos, them we buy. In Spanish, you see the translation here. Los compras is you buy them. Okay. Next one is she gives coffee to you. In this case, you have not only the direct object, but you also have the indirect object. Why? Because there is something in the sentence that answers to the question to whom. So you have she answers to the question who or what, gives is the verb, coffee answers to the question what receives the action of the subject, coffee, and then you have one removed, so to speak. That's why it is the indirect, answers to the question to whom, to you. The translation would be ella, again in Spanish, always. The subject pronoun is optional. Te would be the direct object pronoun because it answers to the question to whom. And then you have da, which is the verb, conjugated verb to give, and you have el café. Ella te da el café. Literally, she to you gives the coffee. So now you use the indirect object pronoun te, but you use the direct object, not a pronoun. The point of this lesson is how to use both the direct and indirect object pronouns. How you could say she gives it to you instead of she gives coffee to you. Okay? So let's see more examples. We give it to you. We, subject, give, verb, it, direct object, to you, indirect object. Why? Because we answers to the question who. It answers to the question what. To you answers to the question to whom. The translation. Nosotros te lo damos. In Spanish, subject pronoun is optional because Spanish is the language of freedom. Nosotros te lo damos. So what answers to the question to whom? Te. So note the word order is different. Nosotros te lo damos. We, to you, it, give. So the word order in Spanish is, if you use both pronouns, the word order is subject pronoun optional, then the indirect object pronoun, then the indirect object pronoun, mistake. First, te is the, you see it in green, I'm sorry, indirect object pronoun, direct object pronoun, then the verb. Next one is you give it to us. You, subject, give, verb, it, direct object, to us, indirect object. Translation, tú nos lo das. Tú, optional subject pronoun. Nos, to us, indirect object pronoun. Lo, direct object pronoun. Das, verb. Done. Next one is in this case, it's singular law. In this case, it is plural. So you see the direct object could be singular or plural. And then, finally, we're going to see she gives it to you. She, subject pronoun. Guess if it's optional, and it is, of course. Te, to you, it is the indirect object pronoun. Lo is the direct object pronoun. Da, it is the conjugated verb. So what you have here, the subject, the indirect object, the direct object, and then the verb. This is the normal word order in Spanish, which is slightly different than in English. Note that once you learn how to pose those questions, everything will fall in place. as soon as you learn the tables with the subject, direct, and indirect object pronouns. Let's see more. You give it to us. You, subject, give, verb, it, direct object. To us, indirect object. Nos lo das. You could say nos lo das. You could say tú nos lo das. It is the same thing. The subject pronoun in Spanish is skippable because Spanish is the language of freedom. She gives it to her. Next one. So she, subject, gives verb, it, direct object to her, the indirect object. So in Spanish it is se lo da, opa. And then you think, why is that? Just a second. Why is it se? And this is the point of this lesson. If in Spanish you have two pronouns that you need to use, and you do, because one of them, this one, it is le, indirect object pronoun for to her. So if you have two of them that start with L, then the indirect object pronoun becomes se, and you need to memorize that, and it always is the case. Works like a clock. It's a formula. So se lo da means she gives it to her. So that se, it is a former le, because LL doesn't sound good, so it changes to S. And if you think it's changed, consider in English, you say an apple instead of a apple. A apple doesn't sound good, so you say an apple, because it sounds better. So Spanish does the same thing, because it's the language of beauty. Next one is se lo da, and it is she gives it to him. No, se lo da, she gives it to her. Se lo da, she gives it to him. In English, you know whether it is she or he, the indirect object. In Spanish, you don't know. It is ambiguous. It's both se lo da. So the context will tell you. If not, you will say se lo da a Jose or se lo da a Maria, and then you will know whether it is to Jose or to Maria, to him or to her. Or otherwise, it is more ambiguous. So what? Because Spanish is the language of freedom. Next one is they give it to us. They, subject, give, conjugated verb, it, direct object, to us, the indirect object. Nos lo dan. You could also say ellos no. Ellos or ellas, nos lo dan. Subject pronoun is skippable. Remember the word order. Subject, even if it's implied, as here, for example, you don't say it, but it still goes first. Nos, the indirect object pronoun. Lo, the direct object pronoun. Finally, the verb. This is the normal word order. Finally, you have here you, plural, give it to us. Nos lo dan, ustedes nos lo dan. Ustedes is optional because it's the subject pronoun. Nos is the indirect object pronoun because it precedes the direct object pronoun right here, because nos answers to the question to whom, and it is to us. Lo is the it answers to the question what, and dan is the conjugated verb. That's the normal word order. Next one is we have here the direct and indirect object pronouns. So here I'll show you that me, te, le, nos, os, les are the normal indirect object pronouns, but these ones change to se if you have ll right here, which means both pronouns start with L, then the indirect object pronoun changes to se. Example, we give it to her. Nosotros, optional, should be le, because you take that le right from here, because it's singular, third person indirect object pronoun. Then you have lo for it, and you take it right from here. See it? So it is le lo damos. Doesn't sound good because le and le do not go together right here. So you substitute it for se, and that's what you do, and that's how you do it in Spanish. So it is, instead of nosotros le lo damos, you say nosotros se lo damos. which means we give it to her. All right. Finally, you have here a sentence, and you will see here clearly the word order. Él me lo da. He gives it to me. Literally, is translated as he to me it gives. You already remember that the questions that you pose for the subject is who for the indirect object, is to whom for the direct object, what, and da is the conjugated verb of dar. So you have next one. If you have to say el le lo da, because le is the indirect object pronoun for the singular third person, it will change to se. So it will be he to her, it gives. Finally, you remember that he gives it to him also will be exactly the same. So he to him instead, it gives. The word order is in Spanish, not in English. It will be él se lo da, exactly the same. So the most important thing to remember that you change le for se. Note that you change not only le for se, but you also change the les if you need to use les, because you remember that if you have two L's together, it will change to se anyway. So finally, we are back to the rabbits. So we have he gives it to him. Él se la da. Why do you use la instead of lo? Because carrot is la zanahoria. And it is feminine, and it's single, and it is la is the direct object pronoun for it. That's why you say él se la da. I hope it was useful. I hope you learned A, the word order, and B, how to use the double pronouns together, and how to change if they both start with L, you change one of them to se. All right, we'll get more practice next time. I will record a new one practicing double pronouns soon. Ciao, mezcal.